Let us be real, the inline or straight engine is the only reason the world keeps moving. It is not about being flashy, it is about the most logical way to line up cylinders. One single row, all standing upright, sharing one cylinder head and one valve train. It is the ultimate lesson in less is more. Because everything is in a straight line, the manufacturing is cheap and the plumbing for intake and exhaust stays on opposite sides of the block. This simplicity is exactly why the inline layout is the undisputed backbone of the American daily commute. The standout feature here is not power density but mechanical accessibility. Having everything in one row makes maintenance a breeze and keeps the engine narrow enough to fit into the cramped bays of almost any compact car or crossover you see at a red light. But do not think it is perfect. This layout faces a natural enemy: physics. As you add cylinders, the engine gets dangerously long, leading to a flexible crankshaft and serious packaging headaches. Plus, in common four-cylinder versions, you are constantly fighting secondary vibrations because the pistons do not move at a perfectly symmetrical speed. To stop your one-tandem wheelbase car from buzzing like a blender, engineers have to shove in balance shafts to cancel out the noise. It is a purely functional blue-collar design built to be narrow, efficient, and unbeatable reliable. Then you have the straight six, which is the inline layout's final form. By stretching the row to 6 cylinders, something incredible happens. The engine achieves perfect primary and secondary balance. The firing order naturally cancels out every vibration, creating a mechanical harmony that no other basic layout can touch. The beauty of the straight six is its inherent smoothness. It delivers power like a continuous electric surge once you pass 3 km because the pistons are always perfectly countering each other. It is longer and harder to pack than a V6, but for rear-wheel drive luxury it remains the gold standard for refinement and unkillable durability. The V engine. If the inline engine is a long ruler, the V engine is that same ruler snapped in half and joined at the bottom. Why? Because sometimes you need to pack massive displacement without requiring a hood that stretches into the next zip code. By arranging cylinders in 2 banks angled toward each other, usually at 90 degrees, engineers can double the cylinder count without making the block an inch longer. This is the ultimate cheat code for performance. The real genius of the V layout is its structural rigidity. The short, stout crankshaft and the V-shaped block act like a reinforced bridge, capable of handling much higher levels of stress and torque than a long inline block. But this power comes with a cost: complexity. A V engine requires 2 cylinder heads, 2 sets of cams, and a much more complicated exhaust setup. In the American V8, we use a cross-plane crankshaft, which staggers the firing intervals to create that legendary low-frequency rumble. It is a packaging masterpiece that trades mechanical simplicity for raw, compact muscle. By folding the cylinders, you get an engine that is wide but short, allowing it to sit behind the front axle. This improves the car's balance and weight distribution, proving that in the world of performance, how you fold your power is just as important as how much power you have. When you push the V layout to 10 or 12 cylinders, you are chasing ultimate cylinder density. The V10 and V12 are all about maximizing of power strokes per revolution without requiring a hood the size of a landing strip. Take a V12 with a 60 degrees angle. It is basically 2 perfectly balanced straight 6 engines sharing one crank. The standout advantage here is the overlap of power strokes. Because there are so many cylinders firing so often, the delivery of torque is almost perfectly linear, resulting in 0 vibration and a high-revving metallic scream. By using more smaller pistons in a V shape, these engines can spin to much higher RPMs while maintaining massive displacement, often over 366 cubic inch. This is the only way to fit that much mechanical ambition into a car while keeping it short enough for high-speed stability. It is a triumph of miles per hour of density over dimension, turning a massive amount of fuel into a high-revving symphony of miles per hour that fits perfectly within the tight confines of a modern supercar or a luxury Grand Tour. But what happens when you need the torque of a 6-cylinder? But you are stuck with a tiny engine bay designed for a 4. A wide V6 will not fit and a straight 6 is way too long. That is when engineers decide to throw out the rulebook and create a freak of nature, the VR engine. The VR engine is a brilliant piece of mechanical trickery that looks like a total freak of nature when you first pull the head off. Think of it as a forced marriage between an inline and a V engine. While your standard V6 usually sits at a wide 60 or 90 degrees angle, the VR layout uses a razor-thin zigzag between 10.6 and 50 degrees. Because the cylinders are so jammed together, the banks actually overlap. This allows the entire motor to share a single massive cylinder head and one set of camshafts. You are essentially getting the displacement of a 6-cylinder in a package that is not much larger than a traditional 4-cylinder. This packaging cheat code is the only reason Volkswagen could shove a high-output engine into engine bays where a normal V6 would never fit. It was a miracle of space management. By staggering the pistons in this tight pattern, engineers managed to slash the engine's length and width at the same time. Even today you can see this genius at work in the Volkswagen Atlas. Even though it is a massive 3-row SUV, the VR6 engine allows for a shorter front end, which translates to more interior legroom for the family without sacrificing the torque you need to haul a full load. You do not get the bulky footprint of a V engine, yet you keep all the power. It is a complex puzzle, but it is the reason why some of the most legendary compact sleepers even exist on the streets today. Whether you love the complexity or hate the tight tolerances, you have to respect the balls it took to design something this unique just to beat the limitations of a small engine bay. Flat and boxer engines. Forget about vertical or V-shaped banks for a second. The flat or boxer engine lays everything out horizontally. In this layout, pairs of pistons move toward and away from each other simultaneously at a 180 degrees angle. It looks exactly like two prize fighters punching their gloves together, which is why we call it a boxer. This symmetrical movement is a mechanical masterpiece because the opposing forces naturally cancel each other out. Since the kinetic energy is perfectly offset, the engine achieves a level of inherent smoothness that eliminates the need for heavy, power-robbing balance shafts. You get a motor snorts that revs freely and stays calm even when you are pushing it toward the red line. But the real game changer is not just smoothness, it is the center of gravity. By laying the engine flat, you can mount the entire powertrain much lower in the chassis, often dropping the engine's mass by several inches compared to a standard inline 4. For enthusiasts, this is a massive advantage. By slamming the heaviest component closer to the asphalt, you virtually eliminate body roll, allowing a Porsche 911 to carve through corners with a level of stability that taller engines simply cannot match. It is the secret weapon that turns a car into a precision instrument, making the car feel glued to the road rather than leaning over it. Beyond handling, this layout is a literal lifesaver. In a severe frontal collision, a tall inline or V engine acts like a solid battering ram that wants to push into your lap. A flat engine, however, is designed to snap its mounts and slide under the floor pan, moving away from the passengers. This engineering philosophy is why Subaru has seen such massive success in snowy states. Combined with all-wheel drive, the low center of gravity provides a planted, confidence-inspiring feel in the worst weather. It proves that how you arrange your pistons is not just about speed. It is about making sure the car stays on the road and you stay safe inside it. It is a design that uses the laws of physics to your advantage, whether you are racing on a track or driving home in a blizzard. The W engine. When you take the complexity of a VR engine and double it, you end up with the mechanical monster known as the W engine. Think of this layout as a V of Vs. By taking two narrow-angle VR cylinder banks and joining them at a 72 degrees angle on a single crankshaft, engineers created a masterpiece of packaging density. This allowed Volkswagen to fit a W12 into the space of a traditional V8, providing the kind of smooth, effortless luxury that became the hallmark of brands like Bentley. It is a masterpiece of compact geometry, but it comes with a massive catch: the heat. With so many cylinders packed into such a tiny physical footprint, managing thermal energy becomes a total nightmare. There is almost no room for air to circulate between the cylinder walls, requiring a complex web of cooling channels and massive radiators to keep the block from melting itself. But when you push this logic to its absolute limit, you get the legendary W16 found in the Bugatti, a quad-turbocharged beast that produces over 1,500 horsepower and requires 10 separate radiators just to stay alive. This is not just an engine, it is a high-stakes engineering puzzle where the solution is raw, world-dominating speed. The W-Lite proves that if you have the budget and the brilliance to solve the cooling math, you can pack an entire power plant's worth of energy into a chassis that still looks like a piece of art. It is the ultimate flex of because we can, turning an impossible number of moving parts into a seamless surge of velocity that redefined the hypercar category forever. The rotary engine. The rotary or Wankel engine is the ultimate middle finger to the status quo of internal combustion. Forget everything I have told you about pistons, rods, and valves. In this layout, there is no up and down motion. Instead, you have a Reulox triangle, a curved triangular rotor spinning inside an epitrochoid-shaped housing. As the rotor turns, it creates three separate chambers that handle intake, compression power, and exhaust all at once. Because there is no reciprocating mass, no heavy pistons stopping and starting thousands of times a minute, the rotary can scream past 9,000 revolutions per minute with the kind of effortless smoothness that would make a V12 jealous. It is a miracle of power density. You can have a tiny 80 cubic inch or 1.3 L motor that weighs next to nothing but pumps out the kind of horsepower you would expect from a heavy iron block V6. It is why the Mazda RX-7 became a giant killer on the streets. It had a high-pitched metallic wail that sounded like a Formula One car and a throttle response that was practically telepathic. But, as any rotary owner will tell you over a pint of oil, this magic comes with a heavy price tag in maintenance. The Achilles heel of this design is the apex seals, the tips of the triangle that have to keep a perfect seal against the housing while spinning at incredible speeds. They wear out, they leak, and they require you to literally inject oil into the combustion cycle just to keep things lubricated. It is an engine that prioritizes emotion and rev range over longevity, demanding a driver who treats maintenance like a ritual rather than a chore. You are trading fuel economy and long-term durability for a haunting exhaust note and a power-to-weight ratio that defies logic. It remains a cult classic because it challenges the very idea of what an engine should be, proving that sometimes the most impractical path leads to the most soul-starring driving experience you will ever have. The opposed-piston engine and beyond. Just when you think you have seen every way to move a car, the opposed piston layout shows up to flip the script. This is not your standard engine. In fact, it is completely headless. There is no cylinder head and no valve train. Instead, you have two pistons facing each other in a single cylinder, sharing a common combustion chamber right in the middle. When they compress, they meet in the center, bang, and then get pushed back out to opposite ends. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but this design is actually a veteran of the deep sea, having powered American submarines for decades due to its insane power density and reliability. The real reason engineers are obsessed with this layout again is its thermal efficiency. Because there is no cylinder head, there is less surface area for heat to escape, meaning more energy goes into pushing the pistons and less is wasted as heat. It is an incredibly tight system. Right now, a company called Chates Power is running tests in the United States with heavy-duty military trucks and commercial rigs using this tech. By eliminating the complex cylinder head and valve train, they have created a motor that is smaller, lighter, and significantly more efficient than a standard diesel, proving that sometimes the best way to move forward is to look back at the designs that worked in the most extreme environments on Earth. It is a strange, rhythmic mechanical dance that might just be the secret to keeping internal combustion alive in a world obsessed with efficiency. If this tech hits the mainstream, the days of worrying about blown head gaskets are officially over. The gas turbine. For the grand finale, we have the most insane harcha musica tour, the gas turbine. In the early 1960s, Chrysler decided that instead of pistons and rods, they would give you a literal jet engine. The 1963 Chrysler turbine car was a masterpiece of mid-century ambition. It had no radiator, no pistons, and almost no vibration. It felt like driving a high-speed vacuum cleaner that could rev to over 40,000 revolutions per minute. But the absolute standout feature, this thing could run on virtually anything that burned. During its world tour, owners fueled it with diesel, kerosene, vegetable oil, and even Mexican tequila or expensive French perfume. As long as it was liquid and flammable, the turbine would turn it into thrust. So, why are we not all whistling down the interstate in jet cars today? Physics and reality got in the way. The exhaust temperatures were so high, reaching over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, that it could literally melt the asphalt or the plastic bumper of the car behind you at a red light. Plus, the fuel economy was abysmal in stop-and-go traffic, and the manufacturing costs for the specialized alloys needed to handle that heat were through the roof. It was a beautiful jet-age dream that proved too wild for the suburban streets of America. The gas turbine remains the ultimate tribute to human creativity, a reminder of a time when we were not afraid to try something completely insane just to see if we could turn a family sedan into a rocket ship. Every layout we have covered today, from the hum of the i3 to the scream of this turbine, is a piece of the mechanical puzzle that moved the world. If you have stuck around this long, you are clearly as obsessed with this stuff as I am, and I truly appreciate that. Hit that like button if you learned something new about what is under your hood, and drop a comment below. If you could daily drive any of these crazy layouts, which one are you picking? Do not forget to subscribe to stay tuned for more deep dives into the engineering that defines us. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.